This is a quick overview of citing sources for your what will eventually be your annotated bibliography. So the first stop is to go to our writing resource site from mrjarvis.net and then go to the EasyBib. And the very first site we entered was a book, our textbook. So I'm going to click book over here. And it was World History, Medieval to Early Modern Times. And just click cite it. And sometimes it takes a little while to find the site. And then you go through and you need to, even though you're using an automated tool, you need to look at the title page and look up information. I can see my copyright date is 2006, kind of a dated, not really a current resource here. So currency is definitely not on the high end of, unfortunately, our own textbook. But I also notice it has author Stanley Bernstein on there, and I see this one has the author. So I'm going to click this one as my citing source. Okay, and it's found some information, and it's telling me it's found title, publisher, author. I'm going to continue to the next step. And I notice when I look, you have to use your whole brain, that there's two authors. So I'm going to add the other author. We have Stanley Bernstein and Richard Scheck. So I need to add the second author myself. So it's Richard Scheck. Okay. And also, I didn't use the whole book. I just used a chapter of the book to set the source. So, and I did later Middle Ages. So I'm going to do the title section. And then that was the pages 256 to 287. Those are the chapters that I used. So, and I try to find any other information I can find. I make sure the book title is correct. And there's an author, like I added the second author, and I'm going to click create citation. And it worked for me. And I can click copy and paste and copy that. And then I'm just simply going to paste it into my annotated bibliography. And you'll notice it's sort of highlighted. So I triple click, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my text color, but I'm going to click highlight and say no highlights. And I also want the size to match. So I'm going to make all of my sizes font size 12 or whatever size you're using. Now, the next thing you need to do is make sure it's a hanging indent. And I want to kind of point out something here. It defaulted to a hanging indent, which is pretty cool. But in case it didn't, just want to show you how to manually do that. So what you can do now, notice now it's not a hanging indent. A hanging indent is just reverse. So everything but the first line is indented. So you take the bottom triangle, drag it to 1/2 inch, and then you take the top rectangle. When you mouse over it, should say first line indent, and you drag it back to 0. So everything's indented except the first line. I'll go ahead and do that again. So as you can see, if it's over here, we have two symbols, the triangle, which is the left indent, and the rectangle on top, which is the first line indent. You triple click, drag this to 1/2 inch. It should say 0.5 up there. Drag the rectangle back to 0. It should look like that. So this is a correctly formatted citation. And I'll add my annotation, which is how I used it, why I think it's a reliable source. And that's going to be a first line indent. So when I'm writing about it, skip a line, I need to revert this back. Don't change your margins. You revert this back to a first line indent, or just drag this to 0 and indent the first line and start. I utilize this text. I won't do that right now. We're going to do that actually later. So now for a website, this is a good website because it's relatively current. It has the date 2015. It's within 5 years old. I can find that this is Center for Disease Control and Prevention. I can right click and open in a new tab, and it has information about this organization. I can Google the information and find that the CDC, or Center for Disease Control, is a worldwide known organization. It has an address here, the U.S. Health Department. It's a .gov site. And so this is, I believe, a reliable source, although I can't find the actual author of this particular information. And sometimes that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take this site, copy it. I'm going to do another. I'm going to do a website this time. I'm going to paste it here and cite it and see what it comes up with. So it says Centers for Disease Control. It found something. And then continue to the final step. Doesn't have the author. So I can look for the author. I should probably continue to look for the author. I actually did. I didn't find, oftentimes if it's an organization, multiple people were involved in writing it. So I didn't find the author. So in this case, I can leave it blank. I'm going to create the citation. It does have the electronically published date. A lot of times the EasyBib doesn't pick that up. You can look for that. Sometimes you have to go to the home page to see, but this is a good source. And I'm going to click Create Citation and copy paste, copied, and paste it on my website. And now this time it didn't format it like I wanted it to. I need to go the text, highlight, none, make sure it's all the same font. I'm using size 12. Drag this 1/2 inch in the triangle, left indent, the first line to 0 on the margin. And there I have it. The next thing I need to be aware of is that my sources need to be in alphabetical order, B to P. And by default it is, but if it wasn't, I could just triple click, cut, paste, and put it in a different order. In this case, I put it in the wrong order. So I should put it in the correct order. Copy and paste it. So all your sources are in alphabetical order. And we'll go over later on adding the annotations, writing about the site. So there's kind of a start. And then also you should be marking these on your notes as well. I gave you a form for taking your notes. And so you take the same thing when I take notes as I'm reading about the plague. I'm just going to copy and paste this on that. Now I already gave you that format. So good luck and let me know if you have questions.